Bet that lyric sparked a memory, didn't it? It's one of those songs that's etched into music history. And today, we're uncovering the incredible story behind the woman who gave it life. Welcome back to Retro Waves, the home of iconic voices, golden eras, and the artists who defined generations. Today's spotlight shines on a singer whose voice was so raw, so powerful, that no one, and we mean no one, could replicate it. A magnetic beauty with a fierce vocal presence who carved her name into music history with one unforgettable hit. She was adored by fans, praised by critics, and at one point even performed during an actual total solar eclipse. Oh, and she didn't stop there. She sang in different languages, broke barriers, and lived a life full of twists, triumphs, and some tough turns. Let's rewind the cassette and relive the unforgettable story of Bonnie Tyler, the powerhouse behind one of the most legendary songs ever recorded. Born as Gaynor Hopkins on June 8, 1951, in the rolling hills of Wales, Bonnie grew up in a humble home filled with music and family warmth. Her dad, Glinner, worked as a coal miner, while her mom, Elsie, was a proud church choir singer who passed down a love for music to all 6 of her children. Their home was a constant soundtrack. Music poured from a crackling phonograph from sunrise to sundown. Among the young Gaynor's early musical idols were none other than Tina Turner and Janis Joplin, powerful women who would later echo in her own bold, gravelly style. Before fame came knocking, Gaynor took on modest jobs, first at a small grocery store, then behind a cash register at a supermarket. But music kept calling. At 17, she bravely entered a local talent competition, singing "Those Were the Days" by Mary Hopkin and "I Can't Stop Loving You" by Ray Charles. She didn't win first place, that went to an accordion player, but landing second gave her something more valuable, a taste of the stage and the fire to chase her dream. Her reward? Just a few coins. But to her, that applause was priceless. Soon after, in late 1969, she joined a local band called Bobby Wayne and the Dixies as a backing singer. 2 years later, she rebranded herself with a stage name inspired by her niece and aunt, Shireen Davis, and launched her own band, Imagination. The group hustled, performing night after night in bars and clubs across southern Wales. And slowly, the crowd grew. Then came a turning point. On July 14, 1973, Gaynor married Robert Sullivan, a successful furniture businessman and former Olympic-level judo competitor. 2 years later, during one of her gigs with Imagination, fate intervened. Roger Bell, a talent scout visiting from London, had dropped in to check out another artist. But as he entered the venue, it was Shireen Davis who was on stage, and her voice stopped him in his tracks. He knew he'd found something special. Soon after, she got a call that would change everything. RCA Records wanted to sign her. But there was one condition: she needed a catchier name. A woman raised in a devout Protestant family, she flipped through biblical names in English until one stood out: Bonnie Tyler. In 1975, she released her first single, My Honeycomb, a sweet tune that unfortunately flew under the radar. But her next release, Lost in France, in 1976, made waves.
I was lost in France.
It became her first big hit, selling over 250,000 copies and staying on the UK charts for 10 weeks. Just when things were taking off, disaster struck. While recording, Bonnie started noticing something odd. Her voice felt strained, and discomfort lingered. Doctors found large nodules on her vocal cords. Surgery was necessary. Post-operation, Bonnie was told to stay completely silent for weeks. But silence didn't sit well with her. She broke the rule. and her voice was changed forever. What could have ended her career instead gave her the distinct, raspy, powerful sound that made her unforgettable. Suddenly, people were comparing her to rock legends like Rod Stewart, and it worked in her favor. In 1977, she was nominated as Best British Newcomer. That same year, she released More Than a Lover, which stirred controversy for its lyrics, but still climbed into the UK top 30. Then came the hit that changed everything. It's a Heartache.
It's a heartache, nothing but a heartache.
Released in late 1977 in the UK and early 1978 in the US, it skyrocketed on the charts around the world. Even though singer Juice Newton released her own version around the same time, Bonnie's soared past it, becoming a global phenomenon, topping charts in the US, UK, Germany, Australia, France, and across Latin America. It was featured on her second album, Natural Force, alongside other standouts like Heaven and Here Am I. Bonnie had officially become a global star. But success didn't come easy forever. Her next few albums with RCA struggled to make waves, and she felt creatively stifled. So, when her contract ended in the early 1980s, she walked away and went searching for something new. Enter Jim Steinman, the theatrical genius behind Meat Loaf's hits. Bonnie knew she wanted his magic touch. She signed with Columbia Records, and Steinman delivered 2 initial tracks, Have You Ever Seen the Rain?
I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain?
And Going Through the Motions.
Going through the motion.
Both solid songs that rebranded Bonnie's image. But what came next blew the roof off the charts. In 1983, Steinman wrote and produced Total Eclipse of the Heart, a dramatic, emotional ballad that would become one of the biggest hits of the decade and of all time.
Every now and then I fall apart, and I need you now tonight.
The song dominated charts in the US, UK, Australia, and Canada. At its peak, it sold around 80,000 copies a day and racked up roughly 8 million total sales. Its epic music video, directed by Russell Mulcahy, the man behind Highlander, was inspired by the 1976 sci-fi flick Future World. Interestingly, the song had originally been offered to another act, but when their label refused to pay royalties, Steinman gave it to Bonnie instead. Best decision ever. Bonnie performed the song at the 1984 Grammy Awards, cementing her status as a true global icon. At the peak of her fame, Bonnie was offered a spot representing the UK in Eurovision and even the opportunity to record a theme for a James Bond movie. She turned both down, saying the songs just didn't meet her standards. One of those songs eventually went to Lonnie Hall, becoming Never Say Never Again. In 1984, Bonnie worked with Giorgio Moroder on Here She Comes for the sci-fi film Metropolis, earning another Grammy nomination. That same year, she also dropped another anthem, Holding Out for a Hero, featured on the Footloose soundtrack, and her album Secret Dreams and Forbidden Fire. Bonnie's 1988 album Hide Your Heart didn't sell well, but ironically, many of its songs became major hits for others. The title track? A hit for Kiss. Save Up All Your Tears? Crushed it for Cher. The Best? Became a signature song for none other than Tina Turner. Talk about writing songs that were simply too good to be forgotten. Also in 1988, Bonnie performed at the iconic Reading Festival. But things didn't start smoothly. The rock-heavy crowd wasn't thrilled about a pop singer taking the stage. As bottles flew toward the stage, Bonnie didn't back down. She fired back at the crowd with such a fierce comeback, the arena actually fell silent, then erupted in applause. Rock and roll, Bonnie style. In the 90s and 2000s, her popularity faded in the UK and US, but Bonnie found a new fan base in Europe, especially Germany, Switzerland, and Scandinavia. She released multiple albums, often in different languages, and performed duets with stars like Rod Stewart, Cliff Richard, and Meat Loaf. One unreleased gem? A duet with Italian singer Andrea Belli that never saw the light of day due to label issues. She was even invited to perform Total Eclipse of the Heart at Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones's wedding in 2000. In 2013, she represented the UK at Eurovision with Believe in Me. Her favorite song of all time? River Deep, Mountain High, by her idol Tina Turner.
River deep, mountain high, yeah.
Sadly, she never had children. After miscarrying at 39, she wasn't able to conceive again. And in 2014, after nearly 50 years of marriage, she discovered her husband had allegedly had an affair with a devoted fan who had once built a website in her honor. Despite the betrayal, Bonnie chose forgiveness, though her husband denied everything. Still, she kept performing. In 2017, she sang Total Eclipse of the Heart, live during a real solar eclipse aboard a cruise ship. Iconic. Bonnie never stopped working. Her last album, Between the Earth and the Stars, came out in 2019. She's invested wisely, owns land across Europe and New Zealand, and has used her platform to support countless causes, from cancer research to protecting animals and vulnerable children. And that's the unforgettable journey of Bonnie Tyler, a woman with grit, grace, and a voice that echoed through the ages. Which Bonnie Tyler song still gives you chills? Drop it in the comments, and let us know who you'd like us to spotlight next here on Retro Waves. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a trip back in time with us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.